stay in Africa for 2 years, right?
Yes po. Yes po. I lived in a mud hut. So if you can imagine me without makeup
Yeah, yeah.
in a mud hut, that was me as a health volunteer. So
So
I was
how
out
was the
there in the
life something
bush.
like that?
It was
How was the life?
definitely tough. It was really hard for me
You
sometimes, but
stay two
I had
years.
so much fun. Yes, I stayed
Two
two
years,
years
right? Oh
straight.
my
Straight. Sobrang
gosh. Oh
sobrang
my
homesick
God.
ako po. I got so homesick for my mom, for
You're
my
living
dad
alone.
in the Philippines. Yeah, of course. Wala
Oh
akong
my
kasama. Yeah.
God. Speak the language, the tongue language that they have in Africa, right? When you arrive at the Africa.
No, I didn't speak anything. I didn't even know what the language was, to be honest.
But how you learn their language?
Because of the Peace Corps, they had training for me. So it's like a Peace Corps boot camp.
Oh,
So for 3 months,
oh,
for 4 hours a day, I would learn the language for every day for 3 months with a teacher, one on one,
oh,
basically, teaching me my language
oh.
for technical, cultural skills so that when I arrive in my village, kasi isang na lang, I was the only Filipino, I think, in my entire district uh, of
Oh.
Zambia. So, yeah. In Nepal for 2 weeks
Oh,
after
really?
the earth. Yes, I've traveled quite a
Oh,
bit as an international
oh,
humanitarian. So my parents, growing up, they were medical missionaries. So I always grew up in a clinic. Our family built the first hospital in Pilar, Sorsogon, and that services our
oh.
tribe and a school there. And so it's just, I've always had it in my blood to go where I'm called and where God calls me. And when I was graduating college at the time of the earthquake that killed over 8,900 people in Nepal po, it was sobrang,
Oh.
sobrang grabe po. It was so heartbreaking. Even when I arrived there, I Naku, the ground was still shaking sometimes, even the buildings. Kasi that's how strong the aftershocks were. Even 2 weeks after the earthquake
Mhm.
hit, and I was there for another 2 weeks, it's still, sunod-sunod yung lindol.
Shaking.
Yeah,
Keep on
it was,
shaking. Oh
it
my
was
God.
very shaky. So, I mean, it wasn't every day, but you would feel tremors throughout. And then, naku po, that's when I realized the power of compassion because the people they not only survived one major earthquake, there was another major aftershock that was almost the same, that again collapsed buildings. And so, grabe po, sobrang traumatized ng tao. It's
Yeah, yeah,
sobrang
yeah.
kawawa. And then just to be there as a person, who doesn't even speak the language. I don't speak Nepali, but po, actually, I look very Nepali, apparently. Yung
Yeah.
teachers ko, they all thought
Same.
I was
Same
Nepali.
feature.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
And
really?
so when I was there, they're all trying to speak to me, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Hi!" And then they're like, but as part of the medical team, I was part of triage and basic wound care and assisting the doctors and nurses. And so
Yes.
it was an honor to be a part of looking someone in the eye and telling them that they're going to be okay. That I'm here and that they're going to make it through this. So it was just a beautiful moment to connect with complete strangers on the other side of the world who looked like me. They look very Filipino. They look very Filipino. And, yeah. Nepalis, they look
So,
so Filipino. I'm like, wow.
so what have you learned from traveling in different places? What have
I
you learned?
learned I learned kindness, the incredible amount of kindness that people can give. When I was in Nepal po, I served also in a refugee camp, a Tibetan refugee camp in Nepal, where the people had been displaced. Some
Oh,
of the some of the people were born in that refugee camp because it became a permanent
yes.
settlement there. And even though they've lost their building, they've lost their homes, in their tents, they would still cook
Yes.
us food. They would invite us inside. They say, "Oh, here, take your shoes off. I hope you're okay." They would sobrang hospitable. They're so kind, even though they have
Oh,
almost nothing. They still give,
Yeah,
they still share their food, they still prepare the best meal that they can and welcome you. And so it's super, the
yeah,
Nepali people are so kind. And even in
yes,
Zambia, the same experience. During the hunger season, which is about
yes.
in in I just want to say that's
Oh my
about
God, oh
October,
my God, there
hunger
is a
season.
hunger season in Zambia. There is a
Yeah,
season like
yeah.
that.
Season of
Oh
hunger.
my
Yes. It's about a month
God.
long. It's so kawawa po kasi
So
it's like a
kawawa talaga.
farming country. Yeah, it's a farming
Yeah.
country. So imagine after all the food is harvested, they parang wala. There's no food na.
Hala,
Yeah, there's no more food na. So
really?
that's the hunger season where they
Mm,
where they have either they have that's why I was there actually and I used my Bachelor's of
yes,
Science in biology and minor in environmental science, and I taught sustainable agricultural
yes,
techniques to rotate their crops so
yes.
their yields are bigger, and then how to permagarden so that they can grow food for their families, not for selling, but so they can have food security
Oh, yeah,
through the hunger season. But for the first hunger season I experienced there, ibang level
yes,
of desperation there. But you know what? Even they're hungry,
yes.
even their children are hungry around them, they will give food to you as their guest.
Oh my God, so touching.
They will say, Ah,
I can't
Bamir, because they call
imagine.
me Mary. Yeah, you can imagine, just like the Nepalis who lost everything, they're still giving
Yeah.
out
Mhm.
of their, and
Wow,
that's
so
something my dad,
amazing.
yeah, that's what my dad
That's
taught
really
me
different
too.
from the
Yeah,
Philippines. That everybody here in the Philippines, they were complaining, even though they have the money, even though they have food, they have the car, but still complaining. But in the other
yeah,
country, that they have nothing to eat. Oh my God! And they can share their food. Oh
yeah, and
my
they can still
God.
share. Parang, I think it's also a revelation po kasi my father taught me that charity is giving out of your excess and generosity is
Yes.
giving out of your need, out of your poverty. So they're the true
Yes.
essence of, I mean, sorry, generosity is giving out of your excess, charity is giving out of your poverty. So it's just
Okay.
powerful po of living in perfect charity. Um but
Yes,
it was a
definitely.
culture shock for me too po kasi after living in Africa, I moved to Asia. I
Yeah. And now
yeah,
you're here in Asia.
now here. Yeah,
And now you're experiencing pandemic here in Asia.
yeah. But I just want to say
Oh my
that
God.
the need is almost kasi the population of Zambia is 15 million only. 15 million people.
Oh,
The
oh,
Philippines is
15 million only.
108. Yeah,
100.
yeah, 15 million and then there's 108 million Filipinos. And there's, the same number of double the number of Zambians, 30
Yes.
million. That's how many children in the Philippines are hungry right now.
Yeah, yeah. You told me it's
So
2
33
million. Oh my
million.
God, the
Yeah,
street
2
and
million are
the
abandoned, but 33 million
abandoned
children, yeah, 2
30.
million children are
Oh,
abandoned, and then 33 million, about 34 million are hungry, that they don't have food
oh,
security. So even though
yeah. Oh my
living
God.
in even though I was living in Africa, we have the images of Africa, but then I was kind of blind to the gravity of how much need there is back home in the Philippines. And so
Yeah, yeah.
my dad asked me, how come you can go to Africa and serve there, but you can't come home and help your own people?
Oh
And so
yeah.
that's why I came back, because
That's why
this
you're
is my
back
home.
here in the
Yeah,
Philippines. Of
to
course,
serve
this
our
Philippines
people.
is your home. Of
Yeah.
course.
Mm.
Even during pandemic, you're doing your advocacy.
Yes po, yes po. And not only with sponsoring a child, taking care of that child's needs. PJ is an abandoned child since he was a baby. And then, being able to be a sponsor for him through the CCV is the name of the organization. It's Chosen Children's Village Foundation, and they care for the
Oh,
children with like they're their own child. But it's so beautiful, and they make sure the child grows up knowing that they're loved by God, that God chose them, even though their parents,
exactly.
whatever situation they were in, God still chose them to be born. They're still worthy of love, and they have a hope and a future, like what it says in the Bible. So it's such a beautiful organization, po,
Definitely.
and I'm
Y-
so honored to be a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so touching, really. If you can see some street children, if you're driving and you will see some street children and they were
Yeah.
sleeping and they were untidy. Oh
Oh my
my
gosh, po.
God.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah,
heartbreaking.
exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
that was very almost traumatizing for me when I first came to the Philippines when I was 10 years old po. Was seeing children just like me in that situation. I didn't understand like why their parents they didn't have parents, why were they on the street?
Yeah,
Kasi
exactly.
born and raised ko sa America, we don't see that. We don't see children treated that way or abandoned that way.
Oh,
So
yeah.
parang nakashock ako. I was crying kasi my dad, he gave me, at that time I was 10, he gave me like an allowance, for school.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then he's driving
Yeah.
me to school, and then there's children knocking on my window, and I thought, well, even if I give them all of my money, they're still a child. They need someone to care for them. And so actually, po,
Yeah,
at
yeah.
that time, I thought about becoming a nun. Because just just so I could
Really?
grow up, yeah, grow up and dedicate my life to this. Because even if you give
Yeah.
a child, if you give a 5-year-old money, what's that 5-year-old
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
do? How will they grow? How will they need you? They need love. They need a parent. So in my
Yeah,
head, I was like, oh,
exactly.
I'll become a doctor one day and open up an orphanage and become a nun and have all these kids. I'll be not like my own kids, but like abandoned kids that I would take care of. And you know,
Yeah.
through this pandemic, actually, it's crazy, Paul, because of this platform with Miss Universe Philippines, I've been connected to the
Yes.
Philippine Orphanage Foundation. Lately, Paul, I've been matched with a child. Like I don't have a child,
Oh.
but I've been matched to sponsor a child. And so it's like I've always wanted to adopt a child, po, and like being able to
Oh.
sponsor a child, it's like I
That's
finally
so
have that
great.
child. Oh,
Oh,
his name's
that's the topic a
PJ.
while
He's
ago
three
that I
years
watched
old.
in Likha.
Yeah,
Oh
he's so
my
cute. Ang kilig ako.
God.
I love
You will be a
him.
mother.
One day, sana. I have to find a
Of
husband first.
course.
Yeah, but ano ko po, I was so kilig when I got the email that, oh, Miss Castro, you're matched with PJ. And they gave me his picture, his bio, and I love him. So it's so, he's 3 years old. And I can send
Oh.
you a picture of him later. And I'm just so
Okay,
grateful
okay,
to
sure.
be, yeah, of course.
Yes.
I'm
Uh,
yeah, in the midst of this pandemic, there's still joy in connecting with people
yes,
in need.
yes.
And
You connect with
also,
people.
his life is changing my life. So it's just, I'm really grateful. PJ is a beautiful little boy. There are so many beautiful boys and girls I volunteer with at the Tuloy Foundation the past 3 years, po, even without pageants, po, like I've been volunteering every Monday night, teaching rescued street children how to read, write, and do math and English, things like that, just for 1 hour. Dahil sa'yo, nais kong mabuhay. Pagmamahal ay laylayan ko kung tunay man ako ay alipinin mo ang lahat sa buhay ko dahil sa'yo. Thank you, Tito DeeTV.
Oh my God! Such a
Love
pretty,
na love
pretty,
naman kita.
pretty voice. I love your
Thank you.
voice,
No, that's
really.